Welcome to another episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill-Staxx, and today I got Andrew Donato.
Literally 3 minutes away. We got
Yeah.
to his house. We went upstairs. He brought the bags up. After he brought the bags up, we sat there for a minute. We kept listening to the scanner. We knew that we got away with it for the moment. For the moment, we were good. So we sat back. We got relaxed. We ordered some food.
How many people are you with at this point?
At this point, there's me. It's the guy Tommy I was inside the bank with. Little Paulie, who was driving the car, and then we had a guy across the street, Joe, who was working the scanner, and he was our crash guy. And so there was the four of us. So we went, we sat, we had a little lunch. We decided to crack the bags open and see what we were dealing with. So we cracked the bags open, and one of the bags was just receipts.
Yeah.
It was just 100% receipts. There was no cash in it.
All piled in there, all
just like receipts for the money.
Yeah.
The second bag was filled. It was filled with all bills. We had it filled with all different denominations, 100s, 50s, 20s, all different in the cellophane wrappers. And then the other bag, the same thing. You have to count.
How heavy was the bag?
The bag was pretty heavy, but your adrenaline is pumping pretty good. I got to be honest with you. So after all was said and done, we got close to like $500,000 on the score, give or take.
What?
So
wow,
we did pretty good on that score. It was a substantial amount of money. And so we whacked it up amongst each other. Now at that time, we all had our rabbis that, we had to put a little money aside for, whatever.
How much would you have to kick up now?
You would,
out of a score like that.
Honestly, if you're going to be
would you lie about the money, bro?
I got to be honest with you. You'd be a damn fool to tell them every time you touch down, because they will pick your pockets dry. There ain't no water amongst thieves, kid.
Yeah, I know.
So what you do is you feed them and you make sure that they're okay, and you make sure you do the right thing, because that's what you were raised to do. But in the long run, you're not going to tell them about everything that you make, because you're never going to get ahead that way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then what happened was everybody did what they had to do with the money, and we got away with it, thank God. And nobody got hurt, and we were happy.
How much did you give up to the guy, the skipper?
At that time, I don't remember. I do remember I gave up a little bit of money because I knew I had some other headaches down the pipe, and I had just given some money, putting some money aside from a drug robbery that I committed. I committed a drug robbery, during that time on the run. Me and another friend of mine who's dead now, may he rest in peace. He, we robbed somebody. We got about 500-600 pounds of weed, and
wow.
So I kicked that money up. But I started to get the warning signs, how I knew I was on the hit parade, because what happened was, being I was on the run, one of the guys I gave the money to had not given it to him in time. And then what happened was, when I came around...
Oh, he didn't kick up, you mean?
Well, what happened was he made it seem as though he didn't get to see that guy yet to give it to him. So when I met the guy, and the guy is yelling at me because it was a headache for him, somebody was beefing about the robbery, they went to another wise guy in the neighborhood to try to, to get their product back. He came to me. He goes, I don't understand. I'm getting all these fucking headaches. He goes, but meanwhile, I didn't make $1 here. And I was like, this is $1. I says, I gave the money to Mike. We put that money aside for your headache medicine. That's for your medicine right there. Whatever headache you're going to get, that's what the money's for your aspirin, And so what happens is, now I'm realizing he didn't kick up the money. And my friend from the Genovese crew was telling me that my boss's son-in-law, who was doing some joker poker machines with those guys, was asking them inadvertently how much we made on one of the scores. And that's a no-no, because these guys are not going to talk to him about scores. So they looked at him like, they said, listen, we don't know what you're talking about. All we know is that we wish the kid was over here. And if you guys want to release him to us, we'll take him. That's what the exact words. So that kind of hurt me as well, because now this guy is seeing that I got allies elsewhere. And, here he is. He's holding a position. It was very, very weary times for me back then. And I kid you not. I'm very lucky to be alive. I got to be honest with you. I'm very lucky to be alive, and I know it. And the bottom line is, I'm very humble about it. I don't sit here and try to make any sort of whatever. God was watching over me 100%.
Definitely, man.
And
Definitely.
but it was kind of sad when I realized that my own friends were looking to die on me. Like, it's kind of sad
Yeah.
when you start to see the writing on the wall. And I knew that at some point I was going to be forced to make a bad decision. Either I was going to start to have to try to kill my own friends, which would have broke my heart.
And
But
did you think about it? Did you think about
yeah, of
killing
course
him?
I thought about it, because I seen that, here I am. I'm in a bad situation. I'm on the run.
Mhm.
They just killed two friends of mine, two really good friends of mine from other crime family. But I
Do you
used to
want
do a
to
lot of.
explain? You want to explain the situation that they got into to get killed?
Yeah. What happened was that drug robbery that I was telling you about caused a lot of
Mhm.
headaches. And what had happened was we had a lot of guys beefing to his captain and to my guys about the robbery, trying to get their product back, whatever. Um, Rewind a little bit. My friend from the other family was accused of killing somebody who was within my own crew. He was under suspicion
Wow.
from us for killing the kid. I never
So
had that
he,
information.
so
I
you,
never had that
you're,
information, but
yeah,
that was probably the generalized reason why they went and they killed him. And then this thing with the drug robbery was just probably icing on the cake. And I knew
yeah.
that pretty much, if they killed him, I know what am I special now? Now I'm privy to this information because we had
And
conversations about his murder. And
man,
so now I'm probably, I'm figuring like what's happening here. And the night that he was murdered, I think I talked to you a few days ago. We were speaking about it.
yeah, yeah,
They had called me in and said, "Listen, we got a piece of work to do. We need you on call 24 hours. Make sure you have a phone number we can contact you." So I was there. I was willing to do whatever. This guy called me to help him, and I'm there. That's the kind of
yeah,
guy I was. Listen, there was a
yeah,
lot of guys more capable, but everybody who knows me knows. You want to throw down and you're telling me to go and shoot somebody, you didn't have a shot. I'm coming for you.
yeah. You know that. I
Basically,
know.
that's it.
I know your story, man, and I've looked into your background a
Yeah,
lot,
I would much
it's
rather be out there
serious.
making money than pulling triggers, because there's no money
Yeah,
in pulling triggers. But the
no,
bottom line is they were asking me to do this. I was gung ho to
loyal
please
to
my
the
boss,
cause.
and
Loyal to
I
the
was going to do
cause.
whatever. But the phone call never came. And then I got another phone call about 4 o'clock that morning from a friend of mine who's has nothing to do with the life, telling me that my dear friend was murdered. And that's how I put two and two together, that
That's the piece of work.
that's the piece of work. So now I'm thinking in my mind, did they want us together? Were they looking to kill me? Were they looking to set me up? Were they looking to make me, be the fall guy here? Like what's going on? And then we had some conversations about that homicide afterwards, which I testified to at the Gotti trial.
Yeah.
And then my boss wound up pleading guilty to that double homicide many years later.
Wow, man. The irony in
So
things, right?
yeah, so basically, when you have information on somebody who's an acting boss or somebody in that high ranking position, no
Mhm.
matter how much they trust you, if you didn't go on to work with them, you're not long for this world. And I had the information about what happened, but I wasn't on the work.
Yeah,
So I was very expendable. And it broke my
yeah,
heart to realize just how expendable I was. And, you
yeah.
know,
But in the beginning, didn't you shoot a person that was a made man?
excuse me?
Was remember the person that you shot earlier in your career? Wasn't he with somebody?
Well, yeah, there was a few guys that I shot a few people, so I don't know which I
Yeah,
went away.
I mean
Yeah.
the first time, the first one
No, the
wasn't.
first one, yeah, the first one,
It
there
had
was
nothing to do with the life,
no,
but
no. The first one I
right?
shot, the first guy I shot was back in 82, 83, and he was this guy. This guy it was just a chance shooting. We were out one night late at night. I was in Jojo Carrazzo's car. It was like
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 in the morning. I was nodding out in the passenger seat. Unbeknownst to me, Jojo's son was in like a like a traffic altercation with this guy. They kept cutting each other off or
Yeah,
something. We pulled up to a red light on East 80th Street and Flatlands Avenue in Canarsie, and this guy got out of his car and started running up from the back of the car towards my side of the car with a butcher knife in his hand. And they're screaming, "Drew, shoot him, shoot him." So I rolled down the window and I shot this guy in his groin. I shot him. I shot him I think I shot him once or twice. And what happened was the sun was just coming up and there was some people on the corner waiting at a bus stop. So I threw a few shots in the air so everybody scattered. We got away on the scene, but I got in trouble for that because I shot him in JoJo's car. And if anybody knows listening, JoJo was a captain in the Gambino crime family. And at the
Carrazzo,
time,
right?
Yeah.
Carrazzo, yeah.
And at the time, JoJo was in Florida, ducking his own legal problems. And here I was pulling a trigger in his car. It wasn't a good look. But I was young. They gave me a pass for it. And
yeah, but can you tell this? Is that the story? That's not the one story where he was mad that they were coming after him, right?
No. This was just that one incident. And then what happened was we found out what hospital the guy was in. We found out what hospital the guy was in recovering. He lived, the guy. So what happened was JoJo sent one of his guys up there. They sent somebody in there. I believe it was Johnny Bino. Johnny Bino, who's around JoJo, went up there. And they told the guy, they said, "Listen, we heard that you're going to survive. That's a beautiful thing." He says, "But, gunshot wounds, it's very funny how they work. Sometimes, you could die days later. You don't know. So how about this? How about you take this little bit of money, you go away with your family, and you forget that it even happened to you, and the best of luck to you." And the guy took the money, and we never heard from him again. That's how that played out.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing, and I got lucky with that one. And then, another time, this other shooting that you're referring to, we were having some trouble with some guys from the Lucchese family back in the day. And we had an altercation. We gave one of their friends a beating. They gave one of our guys a beating. It was going back and forth, but it was escalating fast.
Yeah.
And one day I was staying outside the bar, and Nicky Carrazzo pulls up in the car with his nephew and another friend of ours. His name is Frankie Jeep at the time. And what happens is they pull up in the car, and I walk out of the bar, and I walk over to the car, and I'm talking to Nicky, and I got my head in the window. And all of a sudden, I hear a gunshot. And I turn around, and I see a guy at the corner aiming a gun at me from the corner. And then the bullet hit the windshield. So I get the gun out of my...
Did you recognize him? Did you recognize the guy?
I didn't recognize him because it was dark, and he was on the corner. This guy wasn't really close. He was like maybe 50, 60 feet away.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Yeah.
So what happens is that I take the gun out of my pants, and I start running towards him. Nicky and Jeep take off in the car with
What kind of gun you got? What kind of gun?
I think I was carrying I had a Smith & Wesson 9mm.
Yeah.
And so I started taking shots at the guy down the street, and I looked down the block and I seen a car backing down the street, but they were backing down real fast, and like they were panicking, and they were hitting cars as they were backing up. So I couldn't catch them because now they're in the car. So I took like call it a police stance, call it what you want. I got on my knees in the middle of the street and I just started firing.
For real?
Yeah. So
what time in the afternoon is that? Is there people outside?
This was late at night. This was like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So what happens is that the next day, word hits their guy, the word hits this, that. So now we know there's some sort of problem, whatever, right? So now what happens?
Are you worried?
Are
you worried?
I'm
at
not
this
worried,
time?
The next day we go to the club. We used to have a club in East New York. So we go to the club in East New York, and, my boss was way too smart to be giving anybody direct orders, go and do that or whatever. But he was smart in the way he used to go about it. So what he does is he goes, you know what? He goes, that guy needs a lesson. And he makes the finger, like the gun in his hand like this. He goes, that guy needs a lesson. I said, okay. That's all I said. The next night we went out. We robbed 2 cars. We rolled up on a location where they knew where they were. We waited for them to come out. They got into a U-Haul truck. We rolled up on a U-Haul truck. We unloaded. We took off in the car. You got to remember, we were kids at the time. We weren't, we weren't like.
How old are you at the time?
Oh, I want to say, Madon. Let's see. I want to say it was in the 80s sometime. It was like 84, 85, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the kids gets hurt at the scene, but knows nobody's dead. Another friend of ours burnt both the hot cars that we used. And then, of course, the sit down came the next day because the kid and the guys that we shot at, they were around Gas Pipe and Vic Amuso.
Oh, man.
So that was going to cause some big beef because if anybody knows Gas Pipe is totally insane, this guy. And,
did you have dealings with him?
In my neighborhood, Vic and Gas were well-respected guys. I mean, 100%, and that's just the way it was. And, so at that's when I started worrying because now I knew that Gas is one of those guys, if he can get you before a sit down, you got your hands full. So, and a lot of the guys that I was friendly with, were around Gas, that, I was friendly with, whatever. But, now you can't trust anybody because now So they had to sit down over it. And the only way that I won that sit down, because he was looking to, have me killed because of this, was he didn't know that the car that they shot at that night was Nicky Carrazzo's car.
So that saved you.
So that saved me, and that solidified the win in the sit down where Nicky told him, he said, "Hey, you shot at me. You didn't shoot at these kids. You shot at me." And then
so did he have any of them killed for that?
No. So what happened was it got squashed. Right there, it got squashed. But I always thought about it because, let's face it, Gas was a Mad Hatter. And, this guy was one of those guys. He had a dream about you. And next thing you know, they're coming to your house, they're going to kill you, So, so it was, but that's how it was back in the 80s, bro. Not like today. Back in the 80s, people were leaving bodies in the street back then. So you had to be careful. Yeah. You really had to be careful.
You were one of the guys. You were one of the guys, man.
Yeah, well, today they're money motivated. Although we were as well, but guys were committing a lot of violence back then. You don't see it as much today. But
no,
I don't know if that's a good thing. It might be a good thing for these guys in the street for longevity, but I think that the links in the chain got weaker because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do I know? I've been out of the life for many years now, and thank God I have been. But
it breaks down like I want to talk about after the whole being in the life. There's a lot of questions I want to ask you about the life and all that. And we could get back to all that for the people out there. Don't worry, we'll get back to that another time. But I want to talk about things that you've been dealing with outside the life that people don't know about. Like, you know what I mean?
The whole idea is
you've had some life-changing things